This is for the lost ones, the ones suffering from exhaustion. Life beating you down, so you still play cautious. I need you to search deep inside of your conscience. Unleash whatever monsters are keeping you from your progress. I know that you gon' find a way, never give up. Tomorrow could be the brightest day. Follow the light, and I promise you gon' find a way. I know that you gon' find your way.
The fucking hypocrisy of every... I don't get it. Like what I don't get about it is, how do you see something without seeing something else? I know how confusing that is, but how do you, how are you just so blind to something, right? So one of my examples is going to be Biden and his crime bill. If he gets elected, him and Kamala Harris, their ideas are literally going to lock up the BLM movement.
Right.
Because that's all they've been pushing. One thing is, he doesn't want inmates to further educate themselves. Because what happens when you further educate yourself in prison? Sometimes you get out because you were charged faulty.
Yeah.
It's fucking...
And you don't go back in.
And you don't go back. Because that's called double jeopardy. You can't get charged for the same crime twice.
Well, I mean, if you educate yourself and rehabilitate yourself and you leave prison...
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
You don't come back in. Or you have less chances.
Yes. The hypocrisy of it is, you have these people bitching about Trump, and this isn't a pro-Trump conversation, but you have these people bitching about Trump, how big of an authoritarian and how he's a dictator and a racist and a white supremacist and whatever. He's come out and said that our prison system's flawed, and it needs to focus on rehabilitation over incrimination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what that doesn't get? It doesn't get prisons business.
Right.
And these people, and they don't get paid. And these people are invested in these prisons financially. It's the wildest thing. I don't get it. And you can't have conversations with these people, like these left people. You cannot have conversations with them because they are just so one. They're just small-minded.
Yeah,
but
they want to be right.
They want to be right, and it's funny because so me and you are both left, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are both left. We'll
say left-leaning.
Left-leaning, right. Left-leaning. Prior to all of this, those ideas. Me personally, I supported a lot of left ideas because I'm that is correct. And me being ignorant was thinking right people are the small-minded ones.
Right.
And now it's I'm not saying they're not, because a lot of them are too, but it's just the left is just as bad. Yeah. It's what is going on?
They seem to operate on this just blind faith notion. I don't see how they don't get. Do they get the same information and they just interpret it differently, or do they choose just not to interpret it at all? But how can they not see the flaws in their arguments?
Yeah. Boggles my mind. I've reached out to a couple of people that I know are left, and I was like, hey, would you be interested in doing a podcast? Because I want to understand it. I want to try to understand it. one, people are just scared to talk about their opinions, though. So it's a little difficult. But it boggles my mind. Absolutely boggles my mind.
I actually have a kid I went to high school with. I may have told you about him, but he posts a lot. Like he's probably Antifa just based on the stuff that he posts. I don't know, or maybe he's like a fanboy and wants to be it. But he was posting today about something about crooked cops exploiting institutional power to invade the home of Breonna Taylor and murder her. Now they're getting away with it. And I asked him what that was about, and he said that something about her being killed for her activism. It was retribution for her activism, and that they like came in, unannounced, like, but they intended on targeting her. And so I asked him to explain it, and he didn't. He just like stopped talking. But
Yeah.
it's there were a couple other things that he posted similar. He said something about like Fox News calling it out for being like feeding sheep and propaganda. And I'm like, sure, Fox News is definitely right leaning and a little, but the left is the exact same, way more intense, actually. Like, Republicans actually criticize Donald Trump often, whereas the left doesn't ever see the, like the hypocrisy, the Me Too stuff with Joe Biden, and they just don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah, it's almost like you like choose to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like compliant. Is that the right word? Compliant in it? Like
Complicit, maybe?
complicit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's and I try to see all of it. And I and I and I am like incredibly open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
And I am incredibly accepting of a lot of information. And for me to have conversations with people, and like you were saying, you get to a point and they just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like the reason why they shut down is because the information that they're regurgitating is simply that. They're regurgitating it.
Right. They're just hitting those talking points, but they have no idea what they're even supporting.
They have no idea what they're supporting. Like how do you call Trump a bigot and a racist and then support Biden and Kamala Harris and pledge your vote to him? Like, my brain cannot like process that information.
Mm-hmm. And the racism stuff, and like just the way that this whole Black Lives Matter thing, insisting that people say those words. And, how many videos have we seen of people just mobbing random individuals and saying, like, say it? They want them to say Black Lives Matter or whatever.
Yeah. You can't get more authoritarian than that video of Black Lives Matters surrounding that woman because she wouldn't put her fist up in support of Black Lives Matters.
Right.
You can't get more authoritarian. You can't get more authoritarian of watching these protesters / riot or whatever they are march into restaurants and shut the entire thing down.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get more authoritarian than that. Like that's crazy. I don't what was the Side note, that Brown and Taylor thing's wild because that just happened today, and like those cops didn't get charged.
Right? Didn't they charge like one of them? But it was.
It was like he got charged with firing into her apartment and endangering the neighbors. No, none of them got charged with the death of her. That is going to spark the next thing that's going to come out. George Floyd, those cops are not going to get charged.
I was just gonna say it.
They are not going to get charged.
Yeah, they blew it going for first-degree murder because there's no way to prove that was like that has to be intentional. And
is that what they went for? Is first degree?
Yeah, I think maybe did they get second degree?
I don't know. I haven't been following it. I was listening to this thing though where they were talking about how they have to walk on it. They have to do it very delicately because if they overcharge, then the whole case is going to get dropped. And if they undercharge, people are going to freak the fuck out because they didn't. So how it works is like if they overcharge, which if they went for because first degree is the highest, right?
Right. Premeditated.
Yes.
Intentional murder.
Right. So if they did go for first degree, those cops probably aren't going to get charged.
No. No chance.
Because because it's the whole like, were they following police policy and police protocol? Yes, they might have did it excessively, but were they following police the department's policies?
And they have to prove that there was intent, like clear intent to
they have
do it.
Clear intent, right? Also, those new footages, the new videos, showing George Floyd with some white speck on his tongue, saying he can't breathe like 11 sometimes before he even got put on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
All of that, all of that stuff, like, people, they are starting to say that, well, maybe it was a drug overdose. So, I mean, what we saw with our own eyes on that on TV was horrible, right? Like kneeled on that, but how our system is set up. I mean, it's interesting because you have cases that have had less evidence and has put people away forever with less evidence.
Oh,
this is a high-profile case with a lot of evidence, and we're looking at these cops might not even get charged. If they don't get charged, dude, everything that just started is about to re-erupt.
Right.
And great timing to fucking have it all erupt. Dude, we're about to hit COVID season 2. We're gonna hit George Floyd season 2. All these season 2s are gonna hit all at once.
Yeah.
Going into the election.
I think they did. They had it as third-degree murder, and people threw a fit, and so they upped it to second-degree murder.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing I was listening to was saying that their best chance is going with second degree. That's their best case scenario is second degree. But man, like you go through a fair trial, you go through all of the evidence, you go through you go through everything to make the most fair trial. Now, not all our trials are fair, though, because people have been locked away with literally zero. There's a lot of innocent people sitting in prison right now over some bullshit that they weren't even a part of.
Mm-hmm.
This, though, you know what I mean? They're like going through with a fine-tooth comb, but me personally, I don't think these cops are going to get charged. And I'm not saying that because I support the cops. I'm saying it just by everything that I've seen from it.
Right.
Everything I've heard from it, everything I've seen from it, all these little weird little loopholes that I've learned in the meantime, that, you know, all these like laws and how our court systems work and all of this, you know, whatever. I don't think they're going to get charged.
I agree.
Fucking
Unless somebody, you know, that's like involved with it just pushes it through anyway, just for the sake of like public opinion.
yeah, but then you're going against our constitutional laws.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it could be overturned.
Right. Right. Because imagine if they're like, well, we need to make an example out of them because the public is going to go bananas.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many cases are going to be re-brought up by saying, I mean, that sets a future precedence and a very dangerous one.
Yeah.
You know,
That the mob
like,
wins.
well, the mob wins, right? Exactly, because look what's happening now. The mob's winning.
Yeah.
The mob is winning. And it's a mob of a bunch of like misguided and uneducated people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not against what they're trying to do. I'm just saying, like, they're not doing it like smart.
Right.
They're doing it based off emotion, which emotion's very dangerous because you're just reacting.
I think it's interesting that, and I said this way back in the beginning. I remember conversations that I've had with other people, just like they haven't had a leader come out and speak like intelligently about what they really want. Like there's been a lot of demands from various sources, but like there's no, like you don't have a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X. You don't have anybody really standing up and taking leadership, which is why, like, that's kind of strange, really. It's just a, you know, a crowd of people destroying shit and being loud and, you know, trying to get a point across, I guess, at best.
Right.
And there's no clear, defined like leader or trajectory of like where they're going with this.
And what like the silent majority is seeing is a bunch of children.
Yes.
Kicking and screaming.
Yes.
Throwing a temper tantrum. That's what a lot of the middle is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you want people to hear you correctly, like act correctly. I don't know how any of this like police brutality and Black Lives Matters and all of this, how did that ever result in all this rioting and burning? And I mean, you're literally seeing people being drug out of their cars and beat in the street.
Right.
Like now that you have the BLM movement, you're responsible for it. So if you see agitators or you know, people that are trying to hijack your deal, like you can't allow those people to do any of that because they're doing it based in your group. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a reflection on you.
They're doing it in their name.
Right. So you know, you had like this Black Lives Matter protests, right? When you start seeing people like fucking tagging buildings and breaking windows, it's your responsibility to go and stop that.
Well, they want to defund the police, so
right.
You know, who's gonna regulate that? They've got to. If that's the point of all of it.
Right. And they let it go so far that now it's out of their control.
Yep.
So now you just have a bunch of people that just are angry and hurt and they just want to burn the world down because like victimization has just engulfed them. Mm-hmm. When you see those rioters out getting arrested and then you have a group of them bum rushing cops saying de-arrest, de-arrest. It's like, what are you doing? You're going to get shot and killed.
Yeah.
Like, and then that's going to turn into, oh, look, police brutality. But it's like, no, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you never rush up on a group of police officers trying to grab who they're trying to arrest, yelling de-arrest.
Right. As some more hypocrisy regarding all of these protests, and like the only people being called out for doing something wrong are the McCloskeys, the couple that defended their house with their guns. Like, whether rightfully so or not, whether that group was going to, attack their home, like they felt that they were going to be attacked, so they defended themselves. And now this young kid, I forget his name, but that one that like shot a couple people, he was like 17 years old.
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes, Rittenhouse. And those are those are the people I've seen vilified more than anyone. I mean, I'm sure there are others, but it's just interesting that, you have tons of people carrying weapons in these mobs, and the kid that, is like defending against them or trying to, I don't know whether he's misguided or not as well. He's going out there with the thought of, I'm going to protect these businesses in the area, and, shoots somebody that attacks him. And, he is now the villain.
Right. That dude that got shot in the arm. So he shot 3 people, right? He killed 2 and then shot 1 guy in the arm.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was holding a handgun.
Right.
So I don't know what he thought he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out protesting anything if you're holding a handgun.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. And like, it's so interesting, right? Like, because the left sees like the Rittenhouse guy as a white supremacist. That's their go-to, right?
Mm-hmm.
The left are calling the right white supremacist, racist, blah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The right are calling the left, rioters and Antifa, and like, it's, if you think about it, remember like in school when we were learning about Civil War, and they were like, the Civil War in America happened, and you would see, the people out having lunch watching the war go on. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So when they were teaching about the Civil War, they were saying how, like, I'm not going to say like the rich or anything, but I think it was kind of like the upper classes. They would go up and have picnics up on top of hilltops and look down and watch the war go on.
Wow.
It was like entertaining. It was like entertaining to them.
It's like us on Facebook Live watching protests go on in our cities.
Right. We are literally in a civil war right now. It's just done a little bit different because we're in a war that's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. It's like attacking. I mean, it's still attacking ideologies and, whatever, property and rights as far as that goes. But we're not killing each other in mass numbers. It's interesting that they go after like the property and like slam people for different ideologies. They're like attacking the most, like, I don't know, those are things that are pretty like central to a person, their home and their ideology. It's like kind of sensitive stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah, like how you have them, it's basically saying, if you don't follow me, you're against me. Like if you don't support what I'm into, then you're my enemy.
Right. All or nothing.
And it's like, I don't know how much more dictatorship you can get with that.
Right.
It's infiltration and subversion. That's the play right now.
Mm-hmm.
But people's minds are so just scrambled eggs that they don't see it, right? Point out any of this to a left-leaning person, right? They will argue against facts, against videos that you can show them and be like, well, what's with this? And they'll either, like you said earlier, shut down, or they just get mad.
Mm-hmm. I'm like screaming no.
Right.
To drown you
Right.
out. Which
To drown you out.
there's that fascism thing.
Right. Right. Antifa's out there talking they're Antifa is short for anti-fascist, but it's like you're doing exactly what fascists are.
Right.
The fuck you talking about? You obviously have no idea. So you know that they're just following orders and this isn't a grassroots movement.
Right.
This is foot soldiers following orders. It's like, wow, and yeah, the whole defund the police. What do you mean defund the police? What, are you gonna have no police officers? Then what? Then that means that if I'm walking down the street and I know that I can overtake this person because I want their iPhone, I'm taking an iPhone. There is nothing that is going to
deter you.
Deter me from taking an iPhone. So good. So all these people out here talking defund the police, get rid of police, all that ACAB, all cops are bastards. I understand frustration on police officers. It's just bad people. It's not police as a whole. It's just the whole police recruiting needs to be restructured. It needs to be, the standards need to just fucking go up 100 points.
Right. And it's funny, they support unions, which unions are a huge part of the problem that they are trying to fight against.
Yeah. Yeah, being part of a union and then trying to get fired is impossible.
Right?
You have to do some pretty crazy shit to get fired from a union, especially if you're vested and you have tenure. If you're a police officer and you're 15 years in, it's almost impossible for you to get fired. You literally have to kill somebody and then you almost have to kill multiple people back to back to back to where they're looking at you like you're a psycho. Yeah, defund the police. That's a scary world. Nobody wants to live in a world without police. That's a scary world because humans can't be trusted.
I think did you see them? There was a meme or something that was the same people that are saying defund the police also want to take your guns because you have the police to protect you.
Hypocrisy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. And it's these people are also defending people that are clearly doing fucked up shit. I get go out and have a peaceful protest. I get that. But why are you throwing rocks through windows then?
Right.
Why are you lighting shit on fire? And the crowd around them, why are they allowing it? That video when that Kenosha, when that kid shot those people and the next night, that video of of that cop getting bricked,
Yeah.
that, and the crowd around him was cheering for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that can never happen. That is the crazy.
The
That
L
video.
wasn't it there were some sheriff's officer, or I don't know, officers or something shot. I want to say it was in LA County. Weren't there like 2 cops that were shot like point blank by someone, and there was video of people cheering them on too? Did you see that?
I didn't.
Yeah,
But
there were like
yeah.
2 cops shot like execution style, just point blank range, and they're all like
Though,
hooting and hollering down the street, videotaping it, like laughing.
and here's the crazy thing. Those officers are someone's son, there's someone's daughter, there's someone's husband, there's someone's brother, someone's friend, someone's mentor, they are somebody to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you just did that. Also, put in your position, what if your dad or your husband or your wife or your mom, your sister or brother or friend are police officers right now? That's scary as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you imagine being part of this movement and, like, but you have somebody that is, that you know is a good person, but they just chose the profession of police officer. And you're like, that's wild. Like, and it's like oddly fueled off of like this weird hypocrisy, this weird, like, things happen, and if the mainstream media doesn't say or condemn it, then they just go with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, people are so upset about, these, people dying at the hands of officers because they are loved ones. So it's kind of interesting that they can't see that parallel.
Right. And it's not saying that all officers are good either, right? It's just humans being humans. Humans kill humans all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no race crime. There is no, dude, black people kill black people, white people kill white people, men kill men, women kill women, kids kill kids. You take all of the boxes and you can literally intermix all of them, and there is a good handful of situations where that went south. Like, kids kill their parents. You know what I mean?
Right.
Parents kill their kids. And what's the answer? Are we going to end up like The Watchmen, where the police officers literally wear masks and they're totally and they cover their badges, and they don't go around in police cars, they go on unmarked cars.
Right. And they have their weapons locked up and have to be released.
Locked up.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is like what's going on in New York, where it's like, before officers can engage, they have to call in to fucking get approval.
Right.
It's like, holy shit.
I mean, to be honest, I would support at this point police officers wearing masks and covering their identity. Like, because that side appeals to me more, because they seem, I don't know, I guess I just don't quite see it the way that the opposition does in that case. But I mean, if I were a police officer, had a loved one, if I were the family member of a police officer, I wouldn't want anybody to know who they were.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we need police officers. That's just what it is. Here's how you get rid of police officers. Quit doing dumb shit.
Right.
Humans on this planet. If you don't want police officers, quit committing crimes.
Right.
Quit being ugly to each other. Quit assaulting each other. Prove that we don't need police officers. But all that they're doing, because of hypocrisy, all they're doing is they're proving that we need more police officers. Here is, and I was thinking about this one today, and this is a big hypocrisy, right? So, if you think about the government, so think about both sides, right? You got left and right, right? The right, by broad stroke, caters to the rich and powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like rich people trying to keep all their money, whatever. The left caters to the ones that need help, the less fortunate, right? That's where you get all these socialist ideas from,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, here's the interesting thing. The left, right? When you so I come from, and a lot of people come from, the social programs that the left offer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Welfare, Section 8 housing, food stamps, financial assistance, whatever, right? But all that's creating is for you to be dependent on government.
Right.
So, in essence, that makes government bigger. You're supporting big government. Because without government, how are you going to survive?
Right.
Coming from a person coming from that, it's easy to play the victim.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get comfortable in that because you're like, oh, well, I mean, they'll help me out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But what you should do is you should work your fucking ass off and earn your day.
Right.
Like,
You're starting to sound like a capitalist, Chase. I'm so proud.
Right. You will, like, here's how you not financially struggle. You sleep for 8 hours a day. It means you have 16 hours to make money. You have 16 hours. Work 2-3 jobs. I guarantee that if you worked two jobs, even if you worked 2 jobs, there is no way you can be financially struggling unless you're financially irresponsible and you're out on the weekends fucking dropping hundreds of dollars in the bar but that's a lifestyle and the choice that you chose.
But you work 2 jobs to support it.
But you work 2 jobs to support it. Right. You're actually not going to have time to fucking go to the bar because you'll be working.
Right.
Like that's how you not financially struggle. You work. Like, now, isn't it also interesting how the correlation of low income places like the projects and crime.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these people in the quote unquote projects that are on big government's tit, but they're not going to work because if they went to work, they would be off the programs. So they sit at home and do nothing all day. That behavioral sync experiment or the mice utopia experiment explains that, and we all see it. If you take a person that has nothing to do, they have nothing to do, they're probably going to get into some shit and just do weird things. Pick up a drug habit, become an alcoholic, something, right? Because they're not being productive. They're literally, they're going to become obese, overweight, have health issues. Eventually, they're going to become a victim of themselves. And they're never going to be able to face themselves because that's the truest, hardest enemy. So then they're going to project that out. And me and you talk all the time how these people are just projecting everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this left ideology, it's just as fucked up as the right ideology. Because it creates a problem that is really bad. Like for you to so like me coming from that, right? Your environment is kind of fucked up. Like you don't have good role models. You don't have good you're really just creating a cycle
Right.
for people to get stuck in. And that's promoting big government. We need less government.
Right. Oh my gosh.
We need less government. And it's funny because the left are talking about authoritarian dictatorship, which is, well, the government is going to start telling me what to do. Yeah, they can because you're their employee.
Right.
If you're on government assistance, that means your boss is government. Like I don't know how you get more authoritarian than that.
Right.
How you become a free person is you start earning your own. That's how you become a free person and away from government. But the more you want to I'm starting to learn more about socialism and communism. Those two things almost go hand in hand, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Communism and socialism. It's fucking bananas. They almost go hand in hand. So when you look at a Bernie Sanders figure and he pushes like these massive social ideas, it's like that's closer to communism.
And it's interesting because he is like extremely wealthy.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, what people say, what people do are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Example. I've heard people talk shit on Trump. And I know this sounds like a pro-Trump conversation, but it's not. People talk shit on Trump about being wealthy, rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what people don't understand, Barack Obama is probably richer than Trump is? I almost guarantee he is. I was listening to this podcast, and Barack Obama, or Barry Soetoro, I think that's his actual last name is like Soetoro or something. He had his stepdad? Because his mom married this guy. And I fucking cannot remember his fucking name. Anyways, I think it was Soetoro. But anyways, he was part of what am I trying to say is like fucking I lost it. That is
Being rich?
yeah, well like where Obama got a lot of his money. because he inherited from his stepdad. And his stepdad had like fucking an incredible amount of money. Incredible amount of money. Way more. They were saying in the podcast that Barack Obama probably makes $250 million a year.
Jeez.
Just off of his inheritance. $250 million a year. Just off of his inheritance.
Well, it's like naive to think that. I mean, let's face it. Anybody.
And he's had this inheritance since he was like 18.
Jeez. Yeah.
Since that dude died.
Anybody that can get to that level of power is gonna be independently wealthy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know any ex-president that doesn't have a lot of family money.
Dude, Netflix gave him like a $30 fucking million deal or whatever.
Jesus. Like for Michelle's thing, I didn't watch it, but I think she did one, didn't she, on Netflix?
Yes.
I feel like I saw Ben Shapiro make fun of it.
And she has a Spotify
Oh, really?
podcast. Yeah.
Interesting.
There's like, because just this is kind of off topic, but there's talk of that Joe Rogan sold out.
You mentioned something about that.
So here's something super interesting about it.
Or Anomaly did, actually.
Here's something super interesting about it. So I've been listening to Joe Rogan for a long time, right? And yes, he has changed, right? But, you know, I just kind of figured that, you know, because it is difficult to stay in this fucking conspiracy world for as long as you can, right? But it's also interesting and weird that when stuff does get brought up, you kind of snuff it down, right? Like I listen to him all the time, and he'll be saying something, and his guest will say something, and then he'll kind of snuff it down. And he's been doing it for years, and it was really weird to me. And my thing was like, well, you know, like YouTube is censoring, so he's probably just trying to fucking just, you know, just keep the ship floating, right? Like what's it matter to him? You know, he's not out here trying to change the world and trying to, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's really just trying to make a buck for his family, blah, 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 whatever. Fine. Do your thing, right? Like, there's definitely other channels, other avenues of this, right? But then he'll come back and he'll start talking about conspiracies a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and they're literally not conspiracies. Like, he brings up Operation Northwoods all the time. Operation Northwoods is exactly what 9/11 was, except they were going to use Cubans instead of Middle Easterns. Like, and that's a declassified government document that came out. Operation Northwoods was a real exercise. Do you think that they just like drew this math, you know, this really intricate plan up, and was like, hey, this could work, and I was like, what? Nope, scrap it. No, they fucking used it. Like, you don't spend all that time and resource into creating something and then just be like, nah, whatever.
Kind of sounds like Event 201.
Kind of sounds like Event 201, right? Right. You put all of this money and time and the best minds in the world to come up with this situation, and you see that it plays out. You run these simulations through it, and these simulations are always coming out relatively how you want them to. And you're like, wow, that's crazy. Are you just doing it for fun and wasting our tax money and being like, well, you know, it works, so now we're just going to scrap it? No, you fucking use it. It's the same thing with like MK Ultra, right? People are like, oh, that was like disbanded a long time ago. Do you think they really fucking stopped it? Come on. that's being
too
naive.
good. It's like too
that
good.
is super naive. It's too good. You know, another one is Operation Mockingbird, and that's what we're going through right now. That's where all this hypocrisy comes from. Operation Mockingbird is the CIA. So they're taking CIA agents, trained agents, right, and planting them into our media. Remember that thing that I sent you where Anderson Cooper and CIA?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course. You know what I mean? You're telling me that you trained in the Central Intelligence Agency. You learned about people's psychology. You learned about social engineering, because that's what intelligence agencies do. They are spies. They are meant to infiltrate and spread their whatever their mission is. That's the whole plan of that. And you're telling me that you go train at the CIA and then you get put in to our media and you have nothing to do with any type of control. You were just like, the CIA was cool, but wasn't really for me. But hey, media, that's for me.
Yeah, here's a career in journalism.
Yeah, here's a career in journalism. Forget everything that we've taught you about social engineering, lying to people, pushing certain truths, pushing certain, creating smoke screens, and forget all of that. Go into journalism and write the truth now. Get the fuck out of here. That's what you're telling me. Like these people don't think. It's like, come on. That's how this hypocrisy starts. It's a tactic. What, like I'm not blaming all of these left friends that we know. I'm not saying they're bad people. It's not it kind of is your fault. Everything is your fault, but it's not really your fault. You've been mind fucked.
Right.
Heavily. So much to where you don't even know who you are anymore. You're out there.
You're a soldier chanting, for the cause.
Right. You're out there chanting, "I can't breathe" with a fucking mask on. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Because you're believing in one thing and supporting another thing. But what you're not seeing is the dots that are connecting the two. How are you out chanting, "I can't breathe" with a fucking mask on? That is preventing you from breathing. Dude, these globalists, because I'm such a fucking fanboy, are probably watching this, laughing their fucking asses off, being like, look at, this is, if we were ever to rise up against the world powers and stop it and like get off this tax system and make our fucking medications affordable and just, get away from this bullshit, right? Stop poisoning our food and stop doing all this crazy shit, right? We don't stand a chance, because look at what we have to work with.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah. And yeah. And our weakest link is out yelling at people to defund the police. And then when they get shot, calling the police. Like what was it that, you know what I heard today, and I need to look this up to see if it's real or not, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg chick in the 70s or 80s was for lowering the consent age. Now, I'm not sure if that's real or not. And the wildest thing is, like, you can't fucking look up anything now, which sucks. You literally can't look up anything now because it's all fake news. Fake news. This is debunked. This isn't real. It's like everything's not real.
Right.
And then when you look at it, it's all the same. Snopes, Reuters, Huffington Post, Washington Post. It's wild. You know that Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos of Amazon?
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story about how that should never happen ever? So, marijuana, right? Marijuana had a lot of things going against it to make it illegal. Now we live in Colorado, so everybody that has been around marijuana knows that it's not that dangerous, right? Either you've been around people that have partook in it, or you have done it yourself, or whatever. But it's not that dangerous, right? Like, now back in the day, it was if you smoked a joint, you were probably going to rape and kill everybody around you.
Right. Your brain was gonna fry.
Your brain was going to fry. The infamous picture of that fucking lady holding that baby above the blender, talking about the devil's lettuce, reefer madness type shit, right? Now, what that came from was a guy owned a like a lumber mill or a paper mill, and he also owned a newspaper publishing company, and because cannabis or hemp was a threat to the paper mill industry, wood, because hemp is far superior. It was going to hurt his business. So in his papers, he started slandering marijuana. And that's a super famous story. And I can't remember the fucking dude's name. I'll look it up here in a minute. But yeah, super wild. So that's how dangerous it is. I mean, who profited hugely off of this corona epidemic?
Oh, Amazon like nothing else.
Dude, their stocks went through the fucking roof. They probably tripled their fucking value.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't they at least double?
Yeah. So of course, him owning the Washington Post would follow everything that would be against the mainstream narrative.
Right.
You know what I mean? He would follow the mainstream narrative to a T. So when you go on to these, that's the hard thing, is information. When you look it up and whatever, it's hard to even see what's right and wrong. You literally have to see the information and then use your common sense to decipher that information. But a lot of people's brains are scrambled eggs right now, so that's not going to work at all. So however this is, this is just what it is. Some people are awake and see it and don't want anything to do with it, and they're just like, fucking, this is crazy. And then there's the people that are asleep still, and they're out fucking just being put wherever they're told. You need to be a Black Lives Matter movement. You need to be an Antifa movement. You need to be a Proud Boys movement. You know what I mean? It happens on both sides. You need to be part of Q. You need to do this. You need to. It's like, man, armies are being made right now.
Yeah, it's time to choose a side.
God, that's crazy. What else was I'm trying to pull your messages up here. You cannot call fucking Trump a pedo and vote for Biden. You can't do it. I'm sorry. That's one thing that when I find out that people vote for Biden, and I'm going to ask them, so do you think Trump's a pedophile? And they say yes. Like, that's one thing that I can't be a non-biased part in. I'm going to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Did you not see the videos of Biden groping kids? Like, he's literally groping them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a bananas one.
Like, you cringe when you watch that because you feel so bad for the child or the woman. Even Hillary.
It's awkward.
There's one of him with Hillary, and she's just like, "Oh, get off me." And then you have the pictures of like Trump and Epstein, but yet nobody's talking about the stuff that we know. Like Bill Clinton, the Bill Clinton stuff is different than the Trump stuff. Trump is pictured with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. But you've got Clinton on the flight logs and getting like massaged by young, attractive women, presumably in that.
And he got impeached for sexual acts in the White House.
I didn't even make that connection, but you're so right. And then you have the Brett Kavanaugh, business and the Me Too movement. And then when, the Biden stuff comes out, Nancy Pelosi's like, he's just Joe Biden.
Also, Joe Biden literally telling the Ukrainian government, there's a video of it, he is saying it, if you do not fire this prosecutor that is investigating my son for corruption, you are not going to receive this $1 billion, you are not going to receive this $1 billion deal from America.
Was that voice recording?
No, it's a video.
Really?
He's sitting on stage talking in front of these people. And he's saying it.
What?
Like, I don't get how, like, it's like they're voting for them just because they don't want to vote for Trump. They have nowhere else to put their vote.
Right.
Nobody's thinking third party. You know what I mean? That's how rigged this game is no one thinks third party.
Well, we haven't seen anything. Like, I'd be extremely open to a libertarian candidate. Extremely open.
Oh, yeah.
But, the extent that I have seen of Joe Jorgensen is, like, just people posting memes. Like, one guy on my Facebook feed posts memes about why you should vote for Joe Jorgensen. Like, there's no buzz about any third-party candidate whatsoever.
I seen an article about her, and right then I was like, yeah, you're never going to be pushed as president, because her thing was to audit. I think she wanted to audit the San Francisco, or maybe it's Chicago Federal Reserve. It was some big city's Federal Reserve, because every city has like if you go downtown Denver to our Mint or whatever, right on the outside it says Federal Reserve of Kansas City or something.
What? Of Kansas City?
Yeah, it's like the Federal Reserve of Kansas. I seen it the other day when I was downtown, and I just remembered it now. So because I thought that was weird too. I'm like, why is it fucking Kansas? That's weird. Shouldn't it be like Colorado or Denver or something?
Right.
But no, I think it was a Kansas City. And it's like, but there's probably some, but there's weird connections with that, right? Like when that Wayfair thing popped off, the CEO of Wayfair was also the CEO or the head guy of Federal Reserve of whatever fucking of like Baltimore or something.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. You you get rewarded, right? You play ball, you get rewarded. Like, it's fucking weird. You play ball, you get rewarded. Um, Fucking Pelosi going to Chinatown.
Oh yeah. When Trump did the travel ban to China, Pelosi goes to Chinatown and says, "Come on down," and calls him a xenophobe.
Hug Chinese. Remember, like the whole like hug Chinese people.
No, but I believe it.
Fuck, what was that? It was like, oh, dude, so much has happened that this happened like right before Corona. There was something with like hugging Chinese people. Yeah, like Trump wanting to shut down the country and close the borders and build that wall. Like, and he wanted to shut down travel from China.
Right.
And people thought he was out of his mind and a tyrant. And then as soon as like coronavirus comes around, everyone's like, fucking shut that shit down.
Right. You didn't do enough.
Yeah, right. Now it's his fault.
I love that you've got Cuomo saying, we need 40,000 ventilators. What am I going to do with 10,000? Or whatever he said. And, like Trump uses executive power to appropriate like private or whatever corporations to manufacture what is it? PPE, personal protection.
PPE.
Yeah.
It could, yep.
And like ventilators and stuff. And he like got it done. He got that cruise ship done, or not, maybe it's a Navy ship or whatever, not a cruise ship. But yeah, and then they're now like saying you didn't do enough, but it's like what he literally did everything you asked him for.
Yeah.
And then some. And he went big on it. But he didn't do enough. And it's funny because they didn't even use that stuff.
Yeah.
How do they not, like, do we forget all of that? I don't know. He did such a horrible job with it, which, I mean, now you have countries across the globe, like, locking people down. You sent me that thing from Scotland.
Oh, dude. Scotland and Australia are fucking just going hard in the paint with this. Like Scotland, like you can't go visit houses. So the stipulations are if you're a couple and don't live in the same house, you can go visit each other. I think it was immediate family, and if you live alone, you can have some people over. But other than that, you're not supposed to go house to house.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting too, because if they are approving these visits, then they're kind of also recording connections with people.
Yeah. Everybody has contact tracing on their phone. Everybody in the world has contact tracing on their phone. Like they know how close phones are to each other. We're going to be getting messages. People are getting messages of saying, "Hey, someone this close to you contacted COVID. You need to go get tested."
Well, the next level is then, people getting shut down for, I don't know. I saw this video of some guy like confronting a college student that like somebody in his house or he had tested positive or something like that. And they had people over and, they were like attacking him for it, which I mean, sure, if you test positive and, compliance and all, whatever. If I test positive for it, I'll stay in my house. That's fine. But, at the same time, like being at the grocery store with somebody that tested positive, like that's just crazy. for me to have to like lock myself up. But that's probably the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. That clinical trials deal, when so it's like on clinicaltrials.gov, the thing that you sent. Yeah, like when you read through that, so basically it's a mission statement for the vaccine. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
And a marketing program.
And a marketing program. Yeah. Like, hey, we're going to test it on, I think the article said like 4,000 people, and then they're going to be given, and then they're going to be divided up into whatever demographics. And yeah, the mission statement out of that is, and they don't just put in random wording. That all of that is done on purpose. So like, it's like one part of it is talking about economics, the economic impact of COVID.
Right.
And basically, and it's saying that if you get the vaccine, you can maintain your economic and financial freedoms. If you don't get the vaccine, your economic and financial freedoms will be limited.
Right.
Then it has one on personal freedoms. The exact same thing. If you don't get the vaccine, your personal freedoms will be limited. If you get the vaccine, your personal freedoms will be untouched. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
And then the guilt and the shame, like, how will you feel if you do not get the vaccine and you contract or you give somebody COVID?
Yeah.
Think about how you will feel. Like this psychological manipulation, like any marketing, I guess.
Like you will feel angry if you give it to somebody. And ones that don't get it are not brave.
Yeah.
I found that very, very odd that they put that in there.
Yeah, that's strange.
All the words in the English language that you can use, you decided to group these together and say, if you don't get the vaccine, you are not brave. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're literally guilting people into... What it's going to come down to is you don't get the vaccine. I mean, we're already starting to see cash go away. There's places that are no longer accepting cash.
Yeah, when I'm in King Supers, I hear over the loudspeaker, due to the change shortage, we will not be giving, change to cash purchases.
So we are forced to use cards, right?
Right.
We're forced to use cards. Well, if it comes to, I bet you in the next couple years, we're going to see where our purchasing is attached to some type of behavior we have. Like it's like a social credit deal to where, I don't know, like, say, I don't know how they would start this, but say you didn't get the vaccine, right? I have to temp going into my work every day, and I have to scan this little sheet, and then there's a little questionnaire, and at the very bottom you have to agree to it. I have to do that every day before I clock in.
What do you have to agree to?
That, I don't have a temperature, or I did a temperature check, because there's a thermometer right there. You just check your temp. And it has to be, and that temperature has to be under a certain number. It's like 99 degrees or something, or 100, or whatever a fever is. But the fact that I have to do that because that's guidelines of the state. It's not necessarily the company that I work for. That is the guidelines of the state. Temperature check.
My company's doing it too.
Like, Yeah, all companies, they have to do it.
Mm.
So that is easily going to be transformed into vaccination. You must agree that you took a vaccination to enter this facility. I mean, that's the whole foundation of fucking Bill Gates' fucking tattoo idea.
Right.
Be a tattoo put on your hand that can only be seen under a certain light. So it would be invisible all the time, except under the certain light, you'd be able to see it. And that's how people will know that you got a vaccination. That's fucking weird, though.
That is weird.
But it's coming. It's just slow. It's just... We're getting used to these masks.
Yeah.
Dude, I will catch myself going out a door and putting a mask on, even if I'm not going outside.
I do the same thing. You feel weird.
And it's like, why am I putting this mask on? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we're getting used to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming normal. The whole thing of like, because they have like different masks, right? They have like ones that have like little insert for filters, and they have ones that are made of different materials and whatever, right? Most people are just like, I don't care what it's made of. I just need to wear it to comply to what I'm being told to do.
Right. My mask that I wear is super ineffective. It's very thin, and it doesn't do anything.
I've seen girls wear masks made of lacy material. In my mind, I'm like, you're either super pushing the boundaries of this safety issue, or you have no clue what the fuck you're doing. Of lacy material, because it's fashionable.
Right. I've seen the sequins, but I haven't seen the lace yet.
I mean, you might as well just wear like fishnet.
Right.
Make one out of fishnet. I've also seen the ones that kind of hit your chin and then they're plastic kind of coming up.
What?
Yeah, like they're like kind of like this like futuristic looking one, so it kind of like wraps down around your ear to the bottom of your chin, and then it's like a little plastic shield that like comes up.
Like an upside down face
visor.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Instead of putting it on top of your head, you're putting it on your chin, and then the plastic and the plastic is clear.
Right.
So you man, dude. And when you see people in a mask and they're outside or they're in their car by themselves, they're literally wearing that mask because they're selfish. Because they're thinking, I don't want to get this disease. But the funny part about it is that mask represents that you are saying, I care about everybody else and I don't want to get anybody else sick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're wearing it outside while you're running, which I see all the time, or I see you driving in a car by yourself, windows up, wearing a mask.
Right.
You are saying that I didn't pay attention to anything. I didn't try to understand anything. I'm just told to wear a mask, so I'm wearing it.
Right.
And I don't want to get sick. But that mask doesn't prevent anything, you know what I mean? Like, they're wearing that mask for selfish reasons, because like, I don't want to get sick, but that mask represents that you don't want to get other people sick. So it's just super funny to me. it's like you are a sheep.
Yeah.
You are sheep. You are literally just doing what you're told without questioning any of it.
Right. Compliance.
Compliance, right? And the more people you get there, the easier. Once we get shit taken away, we don't get it back.
Right.
Like, we still go through metal detectors, scanners, and take our shoes off at the airport.
Yeah.
When's the last time a terrorist attack ever happened? And the whole thing could be like, oh, well, because that all prevents terrorist attack.
Right.
I just thought about 9/11. I'm not even going to go down that road. Let's see what else.
Well, how about on the mask thing and the compliance thing, more hypocrisy with the, Pelosi and Lightfoot's haircuts and the government gyms being open.
When Fauci threw that pitch, he was up in this. The stadium was empty, and he chose to sit next to those two people.
Right.
Him and two other people were literally sitting on top of each other in an empty ass stadium.
Mm-hmm.
After, and the whole narrative is social distance, wear a mask.
Right. How about the Broncos coach getting fined? Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
And the Seahawks coach, between like the two teams, I guess it was like almost $1 million in fines for not having masks on. But the Broncos coach came out without his mask over his face. But it's like the only people you're exposed to are your team and the people you're like touching the same stuff. Like it literally makes no sense to wear a mask in that element.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I heard it was like coaches get like 100,000 and then the team gets an additional 250,000.
Right.
That's all. Damn. Yeah. Yeah. The haircut thing, it's like you shut down everybody with haircuts, and that's what the initial protests were about.
Right.
When all those people came out, heavily armed people, and we're like, we're getting our fucking haircuts. Like, I don't give a fuck, right? That was that was before the Black Lives Matter movement. That was like our initial push.
Yep. And that was the first hypocrisy.
I'm just thinking about this. What if all of these other little movements was to stop that movement? Because that's when people were like starting to be like, you know what, fuck this. And everybody was in agreement.
Right. Why would they use something that is so hypocritical though? Because they were criticizing the COVID protesters for how dare you be out here in a pandemic, and then all of a sudden it's acceptable to protest in large groups and run amok. I mean, you saw videos of people also like kind of partying in the streets. They were doing that in England too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that's okay.
Because,
but COVID protests aren't okay. Makes sense.
Right. Because COVID, when it knows it's a social justice protest, it stops doing its thing because it also agrees with social justice.
Right.
Right? It's like I'm not going to affect anybody because I actually agree with this too. But everybody else outside this, I'm fucking coming for you. It's like, what the... Really? This is like the smartest fucking disease ever.
Right.
It also knows... it also, like, has a bedtime.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like COVID's out, or not a bedtime, but like COVID doesn't exist until 11. After 11, it's fair game.
Right.
So bars can't serve past 11 because that's when they think that the most infections would occur.
Right. And then the spike in young people in COVID positive tests, which somehow correlated with the protests by, a couple weeks. That must have been from the bars. So then that's when they changed it to 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Like, what?
And now you're seeing that they are doing it for schools, right? Oh, well, these kids are going back to college, but but now like this college is responsible for 1,000 new positive cases.
Right.
This school's responsible. Dude, so...
And it's funny, they want to protect the teachers. So maybe the kids don't get sick, but the teachers do, but we're seeing teachers being arrested for Black Lives Matter protesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was... So with the Joe Rogan thing, right? So I just listened to his podcast on... I think his name's Dan Murphy. I think it's one of his newest ones. Mm-hmm. But in it, Joe Rogan, because they were talking about Portland and whatever and how wild it is, and he's like, yeah, and people are getting arrested for arson. Okay. Then I think the next day it comes out on his Instagram, because that's why I watched that episode, because I seen his Instagram, and he apologized saying that he was wrong, that no one's been arrested in Portland for arson. Or I mean, no one's been arrested setting fires, because like the whole West Coast is like fucking lit as fuck right now.
Right.
Like, and people are getting arrested. People are literally getting arrested for setting fires.
Right.
Arson. But he comes out and says that he was wrong and that he got misinformation, and he apologizes for it. Mm. And it's like, you're not fucking wrong.
Right. Then that gets me, cancel culture.
Right. And then that gets me thinking, it's like, well, he just did I've heard up to $300 million deal with Spotify. Nobody really knows the number, but I've heard up to $300 million. You don't get that kind of money by just selling, or he didn't even sell his podcast. He leased it. He's leasing it. He still owns it.
Right.
Like, because you can't get rid of Joe Rogan and have the Joe Rogan experience.
Wait, so Joe Rogan apologized, or this Dan Murphy guy?
No, Joe Rogan apologized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Joe Rogan apologized. And it's like, dude, you sold out, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because your handler got on the phone right after he heard that fucking podcast and said, don't you tell people what we're doing. You fucking withdraw that. You say you made a mistake. We just paid you all this money. You know what I mean? So
the thing that I was talking about before, when you said that, I thought this was the direction you were going, but Anomaly actually had a live stream where he talked about Joe Rogan's deal and how, and I mean, I don't know anything about this. I'm just repeating what he said, but he said that, like, as soon as Joe Rogan got his deal, a bunch of like kind of maybe super right wing, and I don't know like the validity of any of this, but certain podcasts kind of got dropped like right in the same time frame, maybe like right afterwards. And I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. I guess he was trying to make a correlation that Joe Rogan gets this big deal, and then all of a sudden certain people start like dropping off of Spotify and they no longer have podcasts available.
Right. The other thing with that is that when his library got moved to Spotify, a lot of episodes didn't make it.
Really?
Like, and I've been meaning to like kind of check into this, but he has a lot of fucking podcasts to go through, but I guess it was like Alex Jones didn't make it.
Mm.
There's a fucking another guy that didn't make it. All the ones that the most controversial ones kind of didn't really make it.
Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe not that those people lost, because I feel like he referenced Alex Jones, actually. So maybe he wasn't talking about their personal podcast, but the podcast with Joe.
Right.
Interesting.
So that would make sense, though, because if you are trying to censor... Because honestly, so here's the crazy thing. Joe Rogan has such a following, right? Now, he didn't have to make that Spotify deal to be successful. He had enough money in the first place. I mean, we're doing a podcast right now, fucking under $100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan has a massive following, 200 million downloads a fucking month, crazy fucking numbers.
Right.
He could attach a paywall to that, like go on Patreon and say, hey, subscribe to me for $3 a month, $5 a month. A lot of these podcasts I listen to, they also have Patreons that's how they make their money. It's like $3 a month. I mean, what's $3 a month to something that you listen to every day?
Right. And you want to support.
And you want to support and you like it, it's entertaining. It's only $3 a month, right? But you get, I don't know, 200 million people a month doing that.
Right. Because
he gets 200, or no, maybe it's like, no, it is 200 million. Yeah, I think it was like 190 million downloads a month or something. He makes like $200,000 a fucking month off it.
Jeez. That's obscene amount of money.
Right. So he could even do $1, right? I bet you there's 500,000 people that would give him $1 a month. I bet you there's 500,000 people that would give him $1 a month. You know what I mean? That is $500,000 a month. That is crazy fucking money. So he could have done that and created his own platform and then said whatever the fuck he wanted and still got money. But he chose to do the Spotify deal where now they are censoring.
Which is interesting, because didn't you say, like, I feel like you told me about this when it was first happening, and it seemed like he was making that move to avoid censorship.
Right. So that's what they talk about is did he get tricked, or did he when he went to Spotify and everybody was thinking that it was the move to say, fuck YouTube, going to war with them, saying, like, I don't believe in your censorship, but these guys won't censor, blah, 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 whatever. Was it that move? Or did he get tricked into thinking it was that move, but then once he went over there, it was a whole nother story, and he's too far into it now where he's like, well, fuck it. Because the very first episode that he did was him and Duncan Trussell, and he got fucking lit.
What do you mean?
Joe Rogan got super drunk on that show and like was just talking.
What?
Yeah, it was a 5-hour podcast. It was actually really good, and I like Duncan Trussell.
Who is that?
To me, he's like a comedian person.
Okay.
But yeah, they went off though. You know what I mean? You know what it really seemed like? Do you ever see that Ricky Gervais Golden Globes deal?
Yes.
That's what it felt like to me was. It was like Joe Rogan's like, fuck it, I sold out, I did my thing. I just became super fucking rich. Sorry world, but I sold out.
I could see
and I'm
that.
just going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting fucked up right now, right? Yeah, weird. It's super weird. It's super sad because everybody has a price.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Everybody has a price. FYI, I will never sell out. I don't really have a price.
Ooh, everybody says that.
Everybody says that, but I truly don't.
I believe you.
Yeah, there's like money's nothing to me. Like, yeah, but yeah, it is fucking crazy how oh, I saw this little meme thing, whatever. I don't know how true it is, but it was like because people are talking about an impeached president cannot appoint Supreme Court judges.
Yeah, but Clinton appointed Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
How about, I mean, talk about hypocrisy with that too. They talked about that. They also kind of threw a hissy fit when the Senate or House or whatever, whoever it is that has to second that notion or nomination, whatever. And is it the Senate? I think it's the Senate. Anyway, when Obama was in his election year, and they told him like, hey, pretty much, we're not gonna go through with this, so you should just wait until after the election. But it was a Republican-run Senate, and so it literally was pointless because they wouldn't have voted his nominee in. So now the left is using that against Trump and the Republicans saying, well, you said that Obama should wait for the election. But it's like we have a Republican run Senate and the presidency. So the chances of it getting done are more likely. I don't know. It's kind of funny too, because like Trump doesn't really play by the rules. So
right.
Why would you think? I don't know. I love how they're trying to say, oh, did you see the rant from AOC yet?
No.
Where she's like, this is not the kind of man who honors a woman's dying wish. Like, her dying wish was that we wait until another president is elected before filling my seat or whatever. And first of all, that's not really verifiable. But also just like, what does a person's dying wish have to do with anything? And this is like the big leagues. That doesn't matter. Right.
But. And how does she know what her dying wish is anyway? She died in 2019.
At least according to what was that, Fox?
Fox and Friends, yeah.
Oh, by the way, did you see? You were talking about something earlier, and I really wanted to mention it, but it was actually the Joe Rogan thing, but about him like snuffing the comments. Did you see the clip of the Fox crew? Like it was Newt Gingrich brings up George Soros.
Dude, yeah.
Did you see that?
Yep.
And they're like, let's not bring him into this. And they shut it down.
Yep. And then Dr. Oz started talking about coronavirus stuff, and they shut him down.
Really?
So I listened to this podcast called Pardon My American, and they kind of go through some of this stuff. And they brought up those two clips, and they played those two clips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the one about George Soros, where
I did see that one. They seemed real uncomfortable.
Real uncomfortable. They're like, and it was almost like that lady had an earpiece, and in that earpiece, they were like, turn that shit off, turn it off, turn it off. And she's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Let's not bring him into this.
Yeah, right. And then he was like, why? He funds it all. He should be talked about. And she's like, yeah. And then
the other lady says the same thing.
And then it was Dr. Oz came on, and I think he was talking about something coronavirus, but it wasn't mainstream narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And they just shut him right off. They're like, yeah, we need to go. And they were making a comparison because they're like, wait, that lady's wearing the same dress. Do you think it was the same day? And they looked it up, and one aired at like noon, and the other one was like at 2. So
It was
like
the same day?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was like in the same day. So it was like someone had a bad day.
What's up with that?
Or Dr. Oz heard Newt talking and being like, you know what, fuck it.
Right. Wow.
um
Yeah, that's like, but it just goes to show you people, I don't know, you can't really trust any of it. But I mean, to not let them even speak about it is,
oh, it's weird.
yeah.
It's
And then did you see the Tucker video with that lady from China? Got it. I got a notification because I tagged you in that video from Tucker with the lady, the whistleblower or
the
whatever.
virologist,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I got a notification on Facebook saying this video that you commented on has been flagged for like false information. And then they had a couple of fact checks. They're like, there is no proof to show that this was not a natural causing, or this person provided no truth or no facts or whatever to back up her claim that this was not nature made.
Right.
Like, thanks for notifying me, Facebook.
You know what they should do? Because all those fact checks say the same thing. Whatever they're fact checking, they just say, no, this is not true. And then they just repeat the article.
Yeah.
It's like, that's your fact check? It's just saying, no, it's not true, and then repeating the article? Like they should just have where it pops up and says, this isn't what we want you to follow, so you're not going to follow it.
Right.
Because basically that's what it's saying.
Well, and it's kind of weird too. I mean, if for that argument or the logic, it's like I get suggested all these videos. It's kind of interesting that they would try to deter me from them after they suggest them to me.
And like, it's just so convenient that fact checking became a thing now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you're going to fact check me on this?
What a joke.
Oh, it's a huge joke. And the fact checks come from the same places.
Uh-huh.
Snopes, Reuters. You know what I mean?
Somebody said Snopes is just a PR team for the left. Or something like that. Yeah. Which is so true.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
With these fact checks. It's like, you don't fact check. Oh my gosh. If you like all these memes and stuff from the left that are like really extreme, like they equate two things that don't. I saw something that was like, and I thought, hey, that's a pretty intelligent argument. I kind of like that. But the way that they presented it was still like that very childish, immature, like it's not like a real argument or a real point, but it was like, so people that were pregnant didn't get the extra $500 that a child would, like a parent would get, but you are so concerned with the like unborn, like a pro-life. It was like a pro-life correlation. So, which I thought made sense. Well, but then it also said something about you don't acknowledge the unborn child until they open their wallets for the GOP. It's like, well, number one, you're alluding that it's Trump and Republicans that kept that money out of pregnant ladies' pockets, which we don't actually know is true or not. And number two, why opening the wallet thing? Like, why are you talking about donating to a campaign instead of just saying, I don't know, like, why didn't the Republicans push for pregnant women to have extra money because they are also pro-life? Which is a viable argument to me, but like, you don't see stuff like that get fact-checked, which I feel like it should have. If we're playing in those, playing by those rules.
We're not playing by fair rules, though.
It's true.
We're playing by one-sided rules.
Yep.
Like, and that's probably where the hypocrisy comes from, because like how you get Trump merch ads on your Facebook.
Yep.
You know, like so they've already targeted you as as this type of person. So you probably only see certain type of information.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it be interesting to see an article brought up on two different devices? The same article brought up on two different devices. One is fact checked and the other one's not. I wonder if that's a thing.
I actually asked somebody today. They posted something anti-Trump, and I asked them. I was like, "Hey," because someone made a comment about stop following left-leaning, things on Facebook, and maybe you'll stop seeing so much garbage flooding your feed. Like it was some,
Right.
whatever comment. But so then I asked him. It got me thinking. And you know how I told you I wanted to poll people and be like, "Hey, what do your Facebook ads say?" And I asked him, and I didn't really get any good answers. Unfortunately, I was pretty upset about that. But yeah, I am very curious to see what each side is shown.
I'm thinking about going completely left on Facebook and see how it changes my Facebook.
I hope you do. I told you I wanted to start.
I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to start it tomorrow. I'm going to go super left.
Nice. Social experiments.
I'm going to go super left. Like, I'm going to like a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to go pro-Biden, pro-Harris, and just see how it changes my Facebook. I bet you I get a lot more likes on my fucking on my post.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how that is. You can't deny that. So here's the crazy thing: the left, right? Bill Clinton, when he was president, deregulated the media. So that means that this media conglomerates could become a thing. Before then, you were only able to have 7 publications.
I forgot about that.
Now, most of the media is owned by a small group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I heard a thing saying that MSNBC, MS stands for Microsoft. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft doesn't own that. Like all these media companies are owned by corporations. They're not independent, publicly funded. They are owned by corporations. When you buy something, when you buy a product, you expect your investment to be exactly the way you want it to be, right? When you buy a car, and if that car is a color you don't like, do you repaint the car or do you just leave the car as it is and you don't like it? You change it to your liking. Everything you get, you change it to your liking. You tie your shoes a certain way because that's how you like them tied.
Right.
You always change things to your liking. You customize it to yourself. Express it. You are expressing yourself through those items. It's no different when you purchase a news would you ever, if you had $100,000 and you wanted to buy a magazine, would you buy a hacky sack paddleboard magazine or would you buy a racquetball bowling magazine?
You know the answer. Definitely.
You would buy the hacky sack paddleboard because that's what you're into.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't buy the racquetball bowling magazine because you have no interest in it. It's not that you don't like it. It's just those aren't your interests.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did get the bowling racquetball magazine, you would slowly change it to a paddleboard hacky sack magazine.
Right. We need some more
Because,
paddle boards in here.
yeah, that is so... People don't understand that. Like follow the money. Follow the money. See where it goes. See who owns things. It's interesting when you start seeing that everything is owned by the same fucking people. It's like, oh, that makes fucking sense.
I looked it up and it definitely stands for Microsoft.
Does it?
Yep.
Dude, how? Oh, yeah, so that's fucking weird. Like, the guy that owns Microsoft, or used to own or whatever, is now trying to vaccinate the fucking world when he was just fucking up Africa and India over his vaccination bullshit. He was giving shots to people that were sterilizing women.
It's funny too, because if that were the right, I mean, like if Trump did something like that, it would be blasted and criticized, and he would be fucking crucified for it.
Yeah, head put on a pike for sure. I don't know if I sent this to you or not. Maybe I did. Bloomberg.
You did.
Paid off 32,000 prisoners fines so they could vote. You just bought their vote.
What does that even mean, though? Like, what is that? So what does that mean?
What I'm assuming is that now probably laws are different all over, right? But what I'm assuming by that is because you're always a felon. Well, not always, but like it's on your record for a long time. Mm-hmm. But what I'm assuming is they allow felons to vote as long as they don't have any
outstanding
balances on their fines.
That makes sense.
So this billionaire just came through, and he's he was running for the Democratic Party presidential candidate, right? So he's definitely left, right? He came through them, paid all their fines so they could vote. Like, you can't tell me that those prisoners, one, are going to vote right because the left guy just paid their fines for them to do it.
Right.
Two, those felons, I forgot where I was going with that. God damn it. So they got the vote, like he paid for them to vote a certain way. That is like so crazy. And you have people praising it. I bet you have people out there that are like, look at this guy doing right. You know what I mean? He's allowing these people to vote now. But it's like, why didn't he do that before? I wish Trump would come out and do that. You know how many people would fucking freak out on him being like, look at him buying votes.
That's true.
Because that's the hypocrisy in it. You know, I was thinking was, you know how Trump's counterpunches are always way harder than the initial attack? What if it's because the left is all set up? So, because the FAR conspiracy is that all these people have been executed. The whole, like, right when COVID hit, the Global Alliance initiated a giant military strike, and they took out all these fucking all these heads of people, all these upper management people at once. And what we're seeing now is just remnants of a body trying to fight, but it's eventually going to like lay still. You know what I mean? Like you cut off the head of a chicken and run around the yard bleeding everywhere for a while. You just gotta wait it out. What if the left is all a show? That's all theater. Like, for Nancy Pelosi and Lightfoot to be that hypocritical, in Lightfoot hired security on her block because she felt she needed safety for her family during the protest that she would not shut down.
Right.
And everybody else was fearful because those protests and those riots were going through neighborhoods, and they were like, fuck, we need to do something. But she didn't send any help into there and said, hey, let them happen.
Right.
But when it came to her neighborhood, well, it's different now.
Mm-hmm.
Haircuts the same way. Joe Biden coming out and playing Despacito when he was addressing this Latin community, comes out and plays Despacito on his fucking cell phone. Or when they come out in those fucking those African fucking...
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was... I don't know. It's a reality TV show.
It's almost like they got caught doing their thing, and it's like, now you have to humiliate yourself in front of everybody in the country, and you need to push your people over to us. Like, it's because it is too much. It's like I don't know how anybody does not see it and be like, what the fuck? Also, like, the whole, like, Trump side, the whole, like, conspiracy, Q movement, whatever, they actually drop legit detailed information all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
The left has no information. They just say orange man bad.
The one suffering from exhaustion, life beating you down so you still playing cautious. I need you to search deep inside of your conscience, unleash whatever monsters are keeping you from your progress. I know that you gon' find a way, never give up. Tomorrow could be the brightest day. Follow the light, and I promise you gon' find a way. I know that you gon' find your way.